Hey, how y'all doing out there? And what is going on in Atlanta, Bird Gangland, and on Uncle Steve's Lounge on YouTube? Happy New Year. Happy 2022. Uh, Hoping that we would have been able to start some things in a different direction than the Falcons have been going for the last uh, couple of years by trying to make half attempt to make the playoffs here in the end. It was not meant to be. It wouldn't have meant to be anyway because Philadelphia took care of Washington earlier in the day. So even if the Falcons had won, we would have been eliminated by Philadelphia taking out Washington. And then, of course, now San Francisco taking out Houston early in the day. So, nevertheless, Falcons end the season. Well, they don't end the season. With one game left, the Falcons are 7-9. Looks like going to be another interesting offseason. We still have one big game against the Saints, and judging by things, the Saints look like they're going to be playing a little bit for something. They're going to hope that San Francisco can possibly lose a game and they can sneak into the playoffs. We'll look at the playoff positions here in a second. Still have one game left still out there, the Dallas Cowboys and the Arizona Cardinals, which is a very important game. Arizona up at the moment 25-22 with 4 minutes and 42 seconds left. So we'll see how that goes. What's going on, Joe? How you doing? Happy New Year to you, and glad that you're joining us here, talking about what happened out there today in Atlanta's 29-15 game. I think it was really kind of a tale of two halves when you think about it. Atlanta got off to their typical slow start. We're not able to capitalize early, hoping that they would be able to kind of put some pressure on Buffalo, but Buffalo started fast. We did get the safety at the very beginning. Would have been nice if that could have been a touchdown. Could have changed some things as far as the way Buffalo decided to do some of their points near the end or near the third or fourth quarter. But nevertheless, they did not get a chance to do that. They jump out to a 14-2 lead on the Falcons. Give the Falcons a lot of credit. They kind of bowled up. Defense did their thing. Couple of interceptions early on, and goodness gracious, just just awesome to be able to come back and actually take the lead in Buffalo in the weather. 15-14 at the end of half. They were not able to capitalize, however, after that, as Buffalo shut them out the second half of the game, and Buffalo went on to win 29-15. Trying to bring up real quick before we go any further, I was going to bring up some of the stats we had on that game. They are definitely nothing to call home about, and I know a lot of people are going to probably bring up certain plays when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons. There were a couple of plays where you definitely scratch your head and kind of wonder what was going on. But, it was really, really strange. So if we look right here, try to bring that up just a little bit if I can. Bring that out. There's the stats. Matt Ryan today, 13 of 23, 197 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, sacked 5 times. That's pretty much been the MO for Matt when you start thinking about 2021 season. I know going into 22 right now, that's been his MO pretty much most of it. Mike Davis, 8 carries, 42 yards. He actually ran pretty strong today. I'm going to give Mike Davis a little bit of credit. He ran pretty good when he did get the ball, and he scored a touchdown. So that's pretty good for him. Cordell with 9 carries for 28 yards. Quadre actually had 3 carries for 19. So for overall, 22 carries, 96 yards. We needed a lot more rushing than we ended up getting. If you're going to play with the big boys, you got to run the ball. And we weren't able to run the ball today. And that's really what it boils down to. The big news, of course, Kyle Pitts, after making that really big catch out of the game with a hamstring, was not able to return. He did have 2 receptions. That 61-yarder was the longest that he had. Russell Gage had 1 big play in the middle of the second half, but still did not amount to in the first half. I'm sorry, near the end of the first half, did not amount to anything. Just off the practice squad, Hesse, the fullback, ended up with 3 catches, 31 yards. Just, I didn't see a lot of quit in the Falcons today. Sometimes that's something I think a lot of people, when we start thinking about our team and the effort shown, there really was no lack of effort from the Falcons. It's just that team, that was a better team today. And that better team beat them. And the better team beat them. And that's why they're 11-5 and getting ready to go to the playoffs. And we're, again, packing up our bags early. Christopher, what's going on, man? Happy New Year to you. Good to see you out there, brother. Rusty, what's going on? Put this on the screen so I don't have to keep stretching my neck. Say, Steve just got out of Facebook jail, so I couldn't chat with you guys about the game. But I have an issue. Not sure if it's the players or the coaching, specifically Debo and Sheffield, are afraid to tackle. Both those dudes just punch at the football. Let's see what you have. Now here has some more. They were never able to wrap up. The ball carrier ends up getting extra yards. On another note, AJ is starting to approach that elite category. We got a dog in him. I like AJ a whole lot. I still think AJ has a lot to learn. I don't, and that could be the situations that they're putting him in. He plays way too far off of the receivers for me. There were a couple of times there, Stephen Diggs kind of duped him, especially when you have a third down situation when you only need about 3 or 4 yards. And he kind of led AJ on and kind of did a little stop and go, and AJ still going out, and Stephon is turned in. And by that time, Allen has the ball right in his breadbasket, and that's a first down. So I do like what I see from AJ. I think he's definitely one of our better players on the team. But look, he has to improve just like a lot of these other young guys do. Just a lot of work to be done this offseason going into next year. So I do like it, but I'm not ready to say he's arrived yet. I like the interception. That was a great catch. I would have liked to see him pop up a little bit quicker and get some extra yards if he could, but it is what it is. But I do like the effort he gave. He did give a little bit of effort today. Joe says, we look hot going into the half. Josh Allen had 4 pass attempts. We picked 3 of him. Yeah, I remember that little stretch we were going through. Listen, the defense is doing, with the talent that we have on this team right now, where you're truly playing with maybe 5 bona fide starters on defense right now, I think they're doing a pretty good job. We're not, for what we have, we're doing the best we can. So, yes, the defense did what they could do, but what the defense needs is an offense that can help them out. Now, once Kyle was out of the game, I mean, you're talking about your weapons become Russell Gage, Frank Darby, Hesse, the guy we just picked off the practice squad. Just so we're stuck right now. So it's not a whole lot you could do about that particular situation. But yes, they were taking care of business for a minute there with Josh Allen. What's going on, man? Said up on the Uncle Steve's lounge. Say, yep, tired of getting beat by these new quarterbacks. We keep getting beat. When you start thinking about all these quarterbacks, these guys haven't been with these teams more than 4 or 5 years. So now all these teams that we've been facing with these quarterbacks that are these teams that have decided to turn the page on their quarterback. Notice those are the teams going to the playoffs. I'm looking at Cincinnati just throttled Kansas City in that second half, even though some questionable calls down the stretch on that one that could have lost the game. But you look at Joe Burrow, you look at Los Angeles Chargers with Herbert out there, man. You look at Kyler Murray against Dallas. Teams have turned the page on those quarterbacks who weren't getting the job done. And it's not saying we don't appreciate the years that Matt Ryan has given us, but I'm telling you, folks, until some new energy is brought into this team, and that starts with the number one position on your team, I think you're going to see us middling between 8-9, 9-8. Ooh, we can slip in. Ooh, we can't. Instead of a team like Cincinnati, where you look 2 years ago and they were the worst team in the NFL, obviously, by picking Joe Burrow. Now they're the AFC North champs. It doesn't take long, but you got to decide when you're going to make that move. And I just think it's about that time for us to start seriously thinking about making those moves. Toya, how you doing? Toya says Fowler missed several big potential sacks. He gets in the backfield. He's just reckless. And you know the term running with your neck, chicken with his neck cut off. It's almost one of those things, because Fowler has a motor, but if you're not doing anything by the time you get there, it kind of defeats the purpose. It's almost like, yeah, you got there in 2 seconds, but dude, the one play where he went into Josh Allen and he had a beeline to him, and instead of just running straight into him, he decided to jump. Josh Allen hadn't even cocked his arm yet. Josh Allen was like this, and instead of just going in, you had him dead to right. You went and jumped in the air, and Josh Allen just moved aside, made the completion. And those things are frustrating. Yeah, Dante Fowler is just somebody, Toya, I just don't know. I'm not sure. And again, that was a Dimitrov decision. I know we had to restructure some stuff for him, probably so we wouldn't be in the cap position going forward. But I honestly don't see him probably being here next year. Rusty says AJ lining up far off. Though, is that on him, or do you think Pease is calling a soft scheme? That's what I was just saying. I think it might be a little bit of Dean Pease in that sense. But for those plays when you have less than 5 yards, you gotta think that Allen is looking for Diggs, man. You gotta think Diggs has got to be his number one person. Maybe Knox, the tight end, and you just have to tighten up on that, in my opinion. You do. Jess says, agreed on the defense, good for what we're working with. I'm trying to tell you, the 5 guys, what do you say? Debo, Foyer, Grady, AJ. And aside of those, we're really not dealing with 16-game-a-year starters. None of the guys that we're talking about, even Fowler to a certain extent, Fowler was more situational when he was with the Rams, because you got big old Donald in the middle, and you had Quinn on the other side. And we see from the Bears, Quinn just set the single season record for the Chicago Bears for sacks. We see which end was the better end out of that tandem. And that turned out to be Fowler. But listen, everybody's going to look good messing with Donald with the Rams. So, hey, we just got took that time. Now, 2022, we have to realize, excuse me, when to move on from that. My brother, what's going on, man? Says Russell Wilson, Derek, Tyler Huntley will be available. Well, first of all, I noticed you didn't say none of them available for the Steelers, so I'll get with you about that one later, because I'm sure you're gonna be looking for them to come up there too. But Russell, I think Russell had his heart set on Dak Prescott not signing that contract. I think he would have loved to go to Dallas. I think Russell's going to end up in New Orleans. I have this sneaky suspicion that Russell is going to end up in New Orleans. New Orleans is winning in spite of quarterback play, because Taysom Hill is garbage. Simeon is not good, and I'm not sure they have trust in Jameis Winston. but I think he's going to end up there. Derek Carr, I think for some reason, I think they might end up throwing him a bone and maybe letting him stay one more year and see what's going on. Tyler Huntley, I still have to see a little bit more from him. I understand, he's in a situation where he was thrust in there and he's looked good under John Harbaugh, and John Harbaugh has a way of making mediocre quarterbacks look good. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm still not that convinced with Lamar Jackson, but it is what it is. I wouldn't mind either of those, especially Huntley, because he would be cheaper. Carr or Russell are going to be the same amount of money that we're giving up with Matt right now. So I would rather start from scratch. And even at this point, if you have to take a year off and just say, let's get somebody in the second round or third round, try to groom them and see what we can do, like Dak or Russell Wilson or somebody like that. Because right now, we just can't afford to. Russell Wilson is not coming. He wouldn't come to Atlanta for less than $35 million, no matter if that's his wife's hometown or not. Derek Carr, it probably isn't coming here for less than $30 million. Tyler Huntley maybe could be had for $15 to $18 million, but I just don't think I see any of those situations coming to pass. And plus, again, with your Steelers sitting out there in the hunt, I think they're going to be primed to ask one of those guys to show up as well and see what's going on. Let me catch back up here, y'all, so I can see what's going on. RJ, how are you, sir? Say good night, Unc. If you were the GM, how would you approach the offseason? I would approach the offseason, RJ, to see exactly what contracts are we going to be on the hook for in 2022, and how much can I shed before I go into the business year. Last year, the biggest issue was we had no choice. We had to restructure Matt because there was no other contract and no other way we would have been able to wiggle our way under the salary cap before the beginning of the business year for 2021. Have all your due diligence with these players. Find out who's going to stay, who's going to go, who do we really need. Some of these guys who are free agents, are they really going to stay? Talking about Hurst, talking about Gage. I've told y'all already, I have a personal thing. I think Foye is really the only person that I think right now that's not going to be under contract after the Saints game. That's the number one person that I'm targeting right now. Maybe Koo, depending on what he's going to be asking, but he kind of signed on for 1 year. So Koo might be trying to get a little bit of money. I don't know. But that would be the first thing. I would try to get this salary situation figured out. You're still not going to be able to get high-priced free agents, but you might be able to work some trades with some of these guys who might have a year or so left. We've talked about it before. Deion's contract might be something people might be able to work with. I love Grady. I want Grady to stay here. I want Grady to stay on this line. But if it's an offer that I can't refuse, meaning draft picks and maybe taking some of that salary cap relief off of us, you have to. The GM, Terry Fontenot, is going to have to not be personal and look at the situation and say, what do we really need? 2022, y'all, might be a little bit worse than what we did this year. It might. Don't be shocked, because we may have to take a step back in order to take a step forward in 2023. Just my opinion. That's why I asked for y'all opinion. Tell me what you think. You know what I mean? Jen says, amen. Perfectly said. Christopher, have to pick the correct person to replace him. That's the most important part of it. In order to do that, we have to be in place to get that person or get lucky on somebody like the Pats did with Brady. And that's what I'm talking about. The scouting on this team going into this draft is going to be huge. We're not going to have a top 5 pick this year. Doesn't look like we're going to have a top 10. It's going to be close. But it's going to be middling somewhere between maybe 10 and 15, the way I'm looking at it, somewhere in that range. So whoever's making these picks, and I think we get an extra pick with Julio, right? We got an extra second round, if I'm not mistaken. So whoever's doing this scouting, they got to earn their money they got to earn their money this year, y'all. Got to. Because we're going to get younger. Listen, the Eric Harrises, the Stephen Means, the Brandon Copelands, the pretty much the roster fillers, those guys got to be gone. I'm looking for young, energetic guys who are going to be able to add to this team, not people that are just looking to get a paycheck for the next team. I said free agents. I forgot about Cordell, but I'm not sure. We'll see. Cordell looks like he's somebody that might want to stay in Atlanta. I'm sure he's not. I'm sure his agent sees what our situation is. We're not going to be able to pay you $10 or $15 million. So we'll see how that ends up working as well. Brother Ricky, what's going on? Ricky says, we tried. We did. Says we can't afford Russell Wilson. Christopher says, I don't want Russell. We need some young guns. See, and that's where I am, Christopher. I'm not looking for a free agent right now, in my opinion. I think you start and you get somebody that you can grow into this system. Somebody who's that's why I say next year we might take a little seat back. Look, when this season is over with and everybody kind of gets out of their feelings of all the things that have happened this year and we're able to truly reflect on this year, y'all are going to realize, how did we win 7 games with this roster? And that's why I'm willing to almost bump up my grade, which I was giving Arthur Smith at the third quarter of the year, easily giving him a D+. I'm willing to move him up to a C+, because yes, even at 7 and 9, this roster, the way that defense played out there today, to even stay in the game a little bit until the end, and even a couple of situations I start thinking about. I go back and we can talk about it now because it's so far away. The New England game, everybody's going to look back and say, wow, New England ruled the day that day. They did, but we were still down 2 touchdowns with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter until some unfortunate things happened. There were things that you can kind of point to say, I see the upward tick. I see the upward tick in Kyle Pitts. I see the upward tick in A.J. Terrell. I see the upward tick in Richie Grant. I see the upward tick in Michael Walker. Those are some guys that Hennessy today. Hennessy had a nice game today. I know they got some sacks in the middle on there, but on those run blocks, if y'all saw Hennessy pushing them guys out of the middle, that's why our run game did pretty good today. Not trying to say they're all pros, but I have more faith that the younger guys can only get better. If we go and get a free agent, we'll be more disappointed that we spent money on these guys and they don't perform. That's me. That's my opinion. What's going on? Saying Ricky says, Derek Carr said we might can't afford Huntley as a backup. Yeah, I'm not feeling the Derek Carr thing. I think Derek Carr, even though more athletic than Matt, I'm just not. I don't know. I think he's okay. At times he can look very good. I just want something different. Something different in there. Monica, what's going on, Monica? How you doing? She says, I can see Russell going to New Orleans. I'm trying to tell you, Monica, that is a fit. Sierra will love that. I think that's somewhere that he, and I'm telling you, it'll be the worst thing for us. But we got a year that we finally can say, woo, we done with Breeze. And then now we mess around and get Russell in here too. Woo! And I know Sean will love that. Sean Payton will eat that alive if they came here. Say they will make it happen. Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. I absolutely believe it. Joe says, I'm super heated over Matt's touchdown that was waved off. It was not a give up, and his knee hit the ground, yes, but the ball crossed the plane of the goal line before he was touched. That was a touchdown. I I absolutely 100% agree with that call. I don't like that call because give up to me is a slide. How many times have we seen quarterbacks when they go knee first? He didn't slide into the end zone. He was so, you know what it was, y'all? You know what it really was? Matt is clumsy. Matt clumsily tried to dive into the end zone, and the referee didn't know what to think of that. They were like, was that a dive? Was that a stick? What was that? And one of the guys thought that was his attempt at a slide. Horrible call. Even more on that, of all the times in your career, 14-year vet, wrong time for you to get up and talk crap to the other player. I get it. The heat of the moment. I get it. But if you're up 14, that's a different story. When you're down 14, you can't afford that. And boy, how big did that turn out to be? That turned out to be probably the game changed the whole momentum, where we would have been down a touchdown and could have turned around and did some other stuff. I'm telling you, that was crazy. He says, Sierra and Russell don't want none of Atlanta. They play future songs in the game, right? Sierra will come here. She would come back. She'd come back here in a heartbeat. I guarantee you. Sherman, what's going on? Sherman said, we will finish our season 8-9 with us sweetening the Aints. Book it. Listen, I hope so. I was looking at the end of the Saints Carolina game, and to Cam Newton, which is just as bad because they're the same. Cam Jordan, I've said this before, one of the biggest front runners in the NFL. Cam Jordan has done nothing but go to the playoffs and lose with the Saints all the time. He's like the first person to rah in your face, but it's just one of those, just makes you want to scream. The brother is talented, though. I'd take him here in a heartbeat if we had an opportunity, but he just gets on my nerve, and it would make the world if we could put them out of the playoffs next week with a win at the Benz. Hopefully that is the case, and I agree with you, my friend. Hopefully we can do that. What's going on, Brother David? How you doing? Say Grady, Debo need to be moved. Picks. Fowler, Davis need to be released. Won't be able to re-sign Patterson. Price going up by the snap. We need to just have a fire sale this offseason. And I hear all of those moves with you as far as that's concerned. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, David, but that's probably a little bit of the reality. I think we're going to go halfway down that road. I definitely could see one of the either Grady, Debo, one of the two possibly being moved. Fowler, yeah, I know they restructured him last year. I think he hit one of his escalators for a bonus this year, but I don't think he hit the other one. And then we might not sign Foye either. I mean, it depends. I'm hoping we can sign him to one of those or slap a tender on him that's so high, like a second-round pick, that, you know, whoever comes to get him is going to have to forfeit a pick to get him. I'm hoping we can do that. So, and Happy New Year to you, David. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's what I think about that. My brother, Epic says, what do you think about the Antonio Brown situation? Antonio Brown is one of those things that, you know, I want to smirk and laugh at it, but then it's another situation where I also kind of have a little bit of empathy for him in this sense. You never heard Antonio Brown have any kind of the antics and all of that before he took that horrific hit against Burfict in that playoff game with Cincinnati, where Burfict literally knocked the mess out of him that game. I was truly scared for him after that, because I was saying to myself, this brother is going to be gone. ever since then, and I truly think this, ever since then, I just don't think he's been all there. Some of his things he's done on the field, off the field, uh, you just listen to him, just watch his mannerisms. I think he's an awesome player. Obviously, he's an awesome athlete and he can get himself together. But I think there are some things that were shook up in him around that time. I knew Bruce Arians. He was singing a different tune the last couple of weeks because you know why? Because Tom Brady is there. And Tom Brady said, Bruce, I owe you one. If you bring him on here, if he does one thing, Bruce, you can let him go and we'll deal with it. But notice, Bruce Arians did not blink at his press conference. When they asked him about it, he said, he's no longer a Buck. I'm not taking any more questions. That was that. Antonio Brown, first ballot Hall of Fame guy. I think he solidified that when he won the ring last year with Tampa Bay. But I just don't think football should be his priority right now. That scene that he put on today, that's something something is wrong. Something other than football is wrong. So I hope. I hope he gets whatever help he does because we've seen too many cases of some of these guys that we thought everything was all right. They were just acting crazy. And I know we say crazy and kind of giggle about it. But, this CTE stuff, man, I think that's serious business. So just, hope and pray for that brother and hope he gets well. That's my thoughts on it. It's not shocking to me at all that it happened. I'm just shocked that it happened this close to the playoffs because, truth be told, with Chris Godwin out of there, they kind of need him. So we'll see. They struggled today with the Jets, y'all. The Jets. Jess says, May, gonna be, let's see, gone because scheduling probably gonna be tough. Oh, yeah. The scheduling is definitely going to be tougher this year. Matter of fact, if we beat the Saints, we're going to get a second place schedule. And if I'm not mistaken, and look at real quick, the second place schedule right now. And then remember, we play the Pittsburgh division next year. We play Pittsburgh division, and if I'm not mistaken, I think the NFC North, the Green Bay division this year. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough going into next year. Brandon says, go out and get Jamari Slayer, James Cook, and another corner. Look, I know we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the draft. So listen, when we start talking about players, I know we just had a lot of bowl games this week. People are going to be excited over the play of one or two players. How many times have we been fooled by how great somebody plays in a bowl game and then get them in the NFL and they can't cut the mustard? I'm gonna voluntarily hold out on draft talk for me until probably later in February or March, until I kind of really get a feel on what's going on. Speaking of draft, that was horrible. Matt Corral yesterday. I hope whatever it was, it must not have been super, super, super serious. The mere fact that they let him come back out there on crutches and things like that. So as long as it wasn't ACL, MCL, or anything. But yeah, sad to see that happen to him so early in that game. But yeah, I'm going to get into the draft stuff and as far as specific people going into the year. James Cook, yeah, he did really good. Shoot, I like Zeus better than James Cook, to be honest with you. But, that's for another day. Again, we'll get into that later on. Tony says we need to get some veterans that are some real dogs on defense. And that's the problem, Tony. I think you got to pay for them dogs, Tony. Sometimes I think you got to pay for them. And right now, as constructed, I don't think we have the money to go out and pay for those type of guys right now. I think you have to find those guys in college. You have to luck up and find a couple of lesser valued free agents. We tried to do that this year with the lesser valued free agent. I think we got truly straight up Dollar Tree value free agents this year. Not even like Walmart. We got like under the table, like 3-for-1 type deal free agents this year. We've got to do better going into next year with that. Tony said I just think we need some real veteran leadership. Oh, no doubt. No doubt we need some veteran leadership. And when I say, and I'm hoping you're not responding to me saying build totally through the draft. You need to have a good mix of solid veterans, to your point, with a little rough in them, a little rough side in them, not where they're taking off their shirt and throwing gloves into the field veteran, not that veteran, but veterans who the young guys can look up to and build into high character guys who can play on the field and know when to go right up to the whistle, maybe a little bit past the whistle. I give our arch nemesis a lot of credit. My the dude who coaches the Saints defense. One thing about the Saints defense, and we'll find out next week, those guys play right up to the whistle and a little bit beyond. That's almost that defense that you want. That sometimes the referee will let you have that little extra second after the whistle. And I think New Orleans plays like that whole time. That guy, Coach Allen, is doing a real good. The guy who used to coach with the Raiders, he's doing a really good job with that defense. I give him a lot of credit. If they had a quarterback, they'd actually be pretty good. Brandon says, Arthur Smith won the games Dan Quinn teams would have lost. I'd give you credit on that, Brandon. I think he's done a good job with not a lot of talent. Whereas Dan Quinn, you could argue, had a little bit more talent, especially when I think about, yes, we had some defensive injuries in 2018, but 2019, there was no reason that we should have lost. We should have been 1-6 going into the first 7 games of the year that year. I think we underachieved, and that was coaching. And I think he did a very bad job going into that year. But you're right, Arthur Smith, he gives me a little bit of hope that if we can upgrade the talent level going into 2022, I think some of those plays that he has that we sitting here scratching our heads about, next year we'll be going, oh, that was what it was supposed to be, because you'll have the right personnel running those plays. So I agree with that. What we got over here? This is Sherman again. Sherman says the rebuild is going to be real 2025. Will speak real volumes, and we will end our season this year 8-9 and sweeping the Aints. Book it. Again, I don't disagree with the sweeping of the Saints. I don't think it'll take till 2025. If you get the right couple of folks in here, man, it's not going to take a lot to turn teams around. Again, the teams that are vying for stuff now, look at the Cardinals. It didn't take them long once they got Kyler Murray to be in the situation they are now. LA Chargers did not take them long. I mean, you're talking about, in some cases, 2 years. Chargers didn't take long. Cincinnati didn't take long. Miami, Tua is garbage. But up until this week, he took his team, came back, won 7 straight games. And they were basically on the edge of the playoffs. I know they're eliminated now, but at least they were, truly in the mix with a new quarterback, which is the thing I'm trying to stress here. I know Josh Allen is a little bit more than 2 or 3 years, but it only took him 2 years to develop into a real threat. Are there things about his game that still you kind of scratch your head about? Absolutely. But at least he has his teams in the mix. And I think that's where I'm starting talking about turning the page. When, again, this is not about a personal feeling about Matt. This is about changing the culture, the nature, the energy, the whatever you want to call it, in that locker room into something different that needs to permeate into that locker room. Something needs to change. Kyle Pitts is a good start. I think if you have a signal caller that's more 21st century, not talking about somebody who's going to run 80 yards a game. I'm not talking about somebody who can run the 4.4 dash in the 40 in 4.4 seconds. I'm talking about somebody who has the athletic ability to get out of the way, make good throws downfield, make good decisions. That's what we need. And I think these guys have the right idea. I would just like to give them, and I'm talking about Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. Let's just hope in the next couple of years they're going to get the right folks in here. Brother John, what's going on, man? John says, I'm still trying to see how Ryan was called short on that TD run. We were just talking about that, Jay. I disagree with that because the first thing when they were going to commercial, and I was saying, my son and I were sitting there watching the game, and I was like, what are they reviewing? Nobody touched him. I said, nobody touched him. He could have rolled into the end zone. And the mere fact that they said he was giving himself up, I thought that was a horrendous explanation from Dean Blandino. And I guess everybody else was on the field. Had that been Josh Allen, had that been Kyler Murray, had that been a quarterback that we're used to running, we would have never been reviewing that call. But they were so not used to Matt getting out of that pocket and running that they were like, nah, he had to be trying to fall down. I just thought that was not a very good call. And unfortunately, I think that's because of who he is. I think if you would got if they would have did that same thing in that game with Josh Allen, they would have scored that a touchdown. And nobody would have tried to criticize anything. But I agree with you. Horrible. Horrible. Voltaires, I always want to make sure I pronounce your name right. I hope I am. I think Arthur Smith needs to give up play calling duties. I'm not sure. I think he's doing okay. Again, it's when you're calling the plays with folks that are not probably your best people, who are not the best in those positions. Think about this. When we started the year this year, your thought process after the draft, that's before we knew all the drama that was going on behind the scenes, your thought process was we were going to have Julio Jones on this end, Calvin Ridley on the other end, Kyle Pitts as your tight end, Russell Gage doing the slot, Hayden Hurst in your 12 package. I mean, we thought we were loaded. And you look at what we had in the second half of this game after Kyle got hurt. You had Russell Gage on one end. You literally had a Frank Darby sighting today, which I was just dumbfounded why you would try to throw a bomb to him on the very first play he comes in the game. That was ridiculous to me. Frank Darby, you had, what's his name, Hesse. He had more catches than the rest of you guys. So you had guys in place that Arthur Smith, I'm pretty sure, did not count on. Now, that has also to do with a lot of the scouting that you do during the year. You have to build up depth on your team. The guys that are coming in the game now, those are guys, most of them, those are guys that you are counting on to say, hey, if something happens, we can put you in this slot and it'll be the same. So I'm going to hold off completely on the Arthur Smith play calling until I see some more talented people brought in here by Terry Fontenot to help some of those play calls that he's making, my opinion. David said, I already had my grade for Smith at a C+. I might bump him up to a B- provided we beat the Saints. Yeah, we beat the Saints. I would definitely move him up. To me, I'd move him up to B-, B-, absolutely, if he did. Because he again, people have to remember this guy, dude, he's working with scraps, y'all. Straight up working with scraps. I'm trying to move back here, y'all. I'm sorry. I don't even see who this is, but I'm gonna put this on here. It says Grant Oliver AJ and Hawkins need another piece. Isaiah will be interesting to see if they bring him back. Isaiah had an okay start. It'll be interesting to see if they bring him back on a 1 year. I know they're not going to sign him multiple year, but after getting hurt, again, you can do worse. But maybe also still go out and get another cornerback, but maybe give Isaiah one more shot because he is a free agent this year. So yeah, that wouldn't be bad. Ricky says we are a product of what we have on the field. For us to have the wins that we have this year is a major plus. And yes, they would give Russell the kitchen sink for him to be a skank. That stank. Yes. Look, Sean Payton will do whatever they need to do. Remember, because I think they only gave Jameis, 1 year contract or something like that. Taysom, they got that little funky contract that he signed 4 years, oh so much. Excuse me. But they can void the back years of it. So I think they would take Russell in a heartbeat if they could. I think they would. Tony says, what are the top 5 spots that we need to go and get? Woo! Put me on the spot, bro. It's no secret that I've told everybody we need to get a quarterback. Right now, offensive guard to me is more important than the tackles. I'm not trying to say the tackles are just blowing everything out of the water, but it's obvious that teams come right through the middle on us. I still have a little faith in Hennessy. I didn't like the Hennessy-Dalman switch up, but I think Hennessy can be pretty good, but I would get a guard, so it's quarterback, guard. Got to get a pass rusher, defensive end. Defensive end is critical to this team. We have not solved that problem in the last decade, and that would be something. There was too many times that Josh Allen just had he had the one play where he had just loads of time to sit there and wait for the guy to just come across the field. He was literally jumping around for 7 seconds. And then I just see now you got to get another wide receiver now. I mean, right now we have no wide receivers that are going to help Kyle Pitts. And when I say that, I'm saying Kyle Pitts is going to be a marked man unless we get some threats on the edges. And we don't have that right now. I'm going to put an asterisk at a number 6 position. We got to have somebody to run the ball. I think we found our little Swiss Army knife in Cordell Patterson should he want to stay. But Mike Davis, nice game today for the small part where we could run the ball and weren't behind 2 touchdowns. But are you really satisfied with what he's giving you this year? Look to upgrade that. I think that's somewhere where you need to go up. Ricky says, I'm proud of the fight that we had. He was a runner and they stole that touchdown from us. Yeah, look. It's one thing that I haven't said about the Falcons. Listen, we've had some rough games this year. We've had some scratch your head games. We've had some yell at the screen games. We've had some what in the mess are you doing comments. But I'm not a big fan of calling people out saying you don't have heart and you don't have passion and you don't have fight. I see a lot of those young guys, especially the young guys. The young guys have a lot of fight in them. Like they aren't quitting, especially the defense. The defensive guys, I'm trying to tell you, I think the defense is going to be nice next year if we continue to get, Dean Pease. Sometimes he kind of makes me wonder with some of his plays, but he's in the same situation that Arthur Smith is on offense. I'm sure he would like to have a real life starting safety playing back there for this team. We don't. We have lifers in the special teams playing safety right now, outside of Richie Grant, who is going to take a while for him to learn. So we got a long way to go as far as the building of this team. Markia, how you doing? It said that Matt taunting call tells me Ryan wanted to win, and that should have been a flag on point. Yeah, I don't like. I didn't like the flag, but I also say, especially as the leader, though, you gotta know your situation. You're down 15 at the time. And I know you were happy that you scored that touchdown, or so we thought. So that was a lot of energy. I don't want to try to down his energy at the time because that was a tough drive. And that would have changed things a little bit because Buffalo would have, it's not like Buffalo ran us off the field offensively. So, you know, I like the fight, but I just think you got to use your head sometimes in those situations. But I love the fight. Don't get me wrong. I love the fight. The defense got ran on by Josh Allen. Did we even get a sack? I don't think we got one sack in that game, and I'm going to check here. If anything, I know they got 5 sacks on Matt, if I'm not mistaken. Officially, 5 sacks. I'm trying to pull up the box score. While that box score is coming up, I'm going to answer these other questions right quick. It says, I don't see us doing anything about Ryan Smith. Loved him. I don't know about that, Tim. I think when you're in the heat of the battle and you're in the season, listen, we can't just up and change the quarterback in the middle of the year. You know what I appreciate Matt Ryan for? I appreciate Matt Ryan for always being able to start the game. If it's anything I appreciate Matt Ryan for more in these 14 years is that aside of 3 games, he's always been able to come up and start the game. I'll give him that. Other than that, I don't think it's. I honestly don't think he's that in love with him where he won't make that change. Dre, what's going on, man? Happy New Year to you, sir. Happy New Year to you. Says Steve Brown reminds me of Joanna today. Joanna, man. That's horrible. Oh, man. Rick says we got to get linebacker and cornerback because the zone is killing us. I'll take the order in the other way, Rick. I think if you have a cornerback, and this is where somebody was talking about the mix of veterans and cornerbacks. Now that you have AJ at a level that you think, you can kind of leave him out there and I'll feel good about my chances 50% of the time. This is where you might want to invest in a veteran on this team. If you get somebody else that can go out there and hold their own on the other side, where you don't have to make these little brackets where you have to use the safety on both sides to help out, you can have the safeties do what they're supposed to do, which is naturally roam the middle. I think that would help out a lot. As far as linebacker is concerned, Michael Walker is somebody that I definitely think with the more time he gets, I think he's going to be nice. I still have a thought that they might try to move on from Dion. I don't know. I love Debo. Debo is good. He always seems to get good plays when he needs to, but it would not hurt my feelings if they moved on. If it was something that's going to save us in the future. We're going to have something pretty soon, and I'm going to try to see if I can get Tidy on with me where we can start talking about salary cap ramifications going into the business year. Now, of course, that's not saying of the free agents we plan on keeping or not, but where we can kind of see exactly why, exactly how much we have to spend and what's the potential that we have. Let's see, who's that? Lamar says, why are the shells empty? I'm going to tell you why the shells are empty. Actually, one of the shells fell when I had it. So if you want me to take, and I put it back the other day, so I'm going to make you feel good. I'm going to put this one right here, and I'll put that back. Then I'll put this one back over here. This is the one that failed, by the way. And then the football, I keep telling you, I know I've told this story 3 million times. This is the ball that D'Angelo Hall threw to me. He didn't throw it to me, but he threw in the stands at the end of game we were playing against Tampa Bay. Chris Sims threw an incomplete pass, and he threw the ball up in the stands. The ball went down. I caught it in the air. Stand, try to show y'all where it says Bucks on it, because this was from the Bucks side. There it is. So y'all see that? Can you see where it says Bucks? See that little Bucks in there? Y'all might be able to see it right in there. But I'll put this back up here. So there you go. There you go. Now the shelves are full. Thanks for paying attention. That's pretty cool. Let's see. We'll pull this down a little bit. Thank y'all for coming in. I'm seeing these comments and I'm going to answer everything. I'm just trying to get down here. I'm moving kind of quick. Eldridge says, not us. We get a phantom penalty. Rusty says, in a perfect world, we have a fire sale. Release Fowler, trade Debo, trade Grady, trade Ridley, stock picks. Stock picks. Can't believe I'm saying this, but keep Matt and let the rookie quarterback we draft sit behind Matt for 1 year. By week 9 next year, when we are 2-7, the rookie comes in, finishes the season. That way we go into 2023 with some money and some already established talent. I actually don't have a problem at all with your last part, and that might be a reality, because one way or another, y'all, with the money that we owe Matt Ryan, you're going to have one or two choices. That's to sit there and take it. It's a $40 million hit. Take it. And then in 2023, you'll be able to depart with that with being able to breathe a lot better. He's still under contract for 2023, but you won't take near as big as a cap hit. And you'll save, if I'm not mistaken, I saw that one recently. I think it's like $20 million in 2023. So yes, I'm a fan of keeping Matt if you bring in a young quarterback, but you gotta bring in a young quarterback. I think for us to sit here and keep thinking that each game that we put Matt out, and I keep saying, I see all the posts, y'all. We don't have an offensive line. Think of what Matt would do with an offensive line, folks. I'm sorry. I'm looking at his skill set when he has time. Matt is not that guy anymore. Matt is a serviceable guy who did a great job early in his career. These last 2 or 3 years especially, you see it. Listen, I go to the play that everybody's talking about today. The play where he ran in the ball. Dude, he looked like he was so unorthodox running that ball towards the end zone. When you look at the rest of these quarterbacks, you see Josh Allen today, and you saw Josh Allen run with that ball. Granted, he's younger. Granted, he's a little bit more built for that. But Josh Allen made a decision, and when he ran, he was going to get 10 to 15 yards every time. Josh Allen, the couple of plays, the one play when nobody was there, the other play where he ran through, that's what these quarterbacks are coming out now. That's how they're coming out. They're ready to do everything possible to win. Even got a chance to watch some of Trey Lance today. Trey Lance is very, very green. It's going to take a minute for him to really get it. But I see some things. His arm strength is crazy. He has a nice arm. But he's still green. It's going to take him a second. Justin Fields, I know the polarizing person that we talked about at the draft this year. Justin Fields is very, very green. It's going to take a minute for those guys. Herbert last year, as well as the numbers he put up last year, Herbert a couple of times looked like a rookie a lot last year. So, it just kind of depends. So keeping Matt here and maybe bringing somebody in the second round, one of those second round picks, one of the extra second round picks we have this year, maybe use that on a quarterback. From what I hear, most of the quarterbacks aren't grading out his first round anyway. I'm not sure if I would pick Pickett If I had that number 10 pick, I'm not sure if I would go for him. Matt Corral, he looks okay, but maybe you're able to get somebody in the second round, a third round. And remember, you get a first round pick, you get that fifth year tied into it. You don't get that bonus money tied in with a quarterback you pick in the second round. You do like Dallas did with Dak Prescott. They got away with murder with Dak Prescott for a couple of years because he was drafted in the fourth round. That doesn't happen all the time. I'm just saying, put your scouting group to work and see what we can get for less. A sale. Let's see. It says RJ says, "Oh, I feel we need to address wide receivers and pass rushers badly." Yeah, the wide receiver situation, boy, what a difference a few months make. Because a few months ago, before the season, I would have put my money down that this was one of the top 5 receiver cores in the NFL. Not in the NFC South, not in the NFC, in the NFL. But we know what happened along the way. Yes, we need to rebuild this wide receiver group. The pass rushers, I just don't know what to do. I'm so interested. I love when Chuck Smith is on 92.9. I love his energy. I love when he speaks about what the defensive linemen and the defensive ends do. And I like the fact that when he was there, he was a beast when he was there. Chuck was undersized, and Chuck got the job done. I say undersized, wasn't ideally sized for his position, but Chuck Smith got things done. I would love for them to bring somebody like him and as a consultant and try to see look at these guys and see what kind of guys in college do we need to get. I know we're not going to be fortunate enough to get that guy that Georgia Bulldogs play this week. I'm telling you, you say what you want to say about the team as a whole, but that Hutchinson kid from Michigan, whoo, man, I would take him in a heartbeat. His motor is nice. I would love whoever gets him is going to get a nice guy this year. What's going on, Sean? How you doing, brother? Say all them turned up, all them turned around when they got a new quarterback. It's bottom line. It's about changing up the energy, bro. We talk about it all the time. Labar says P's defense might really be something if we had a pass rush. Yep. Rick says we need a leader who can take over and lead, and Matt can't handle that. Rick, it's the truth. I think, Rick, I think in the world of a lot of folks who yearn, and I'm one of them, man. I'm one of the guys that I think fondly back to 2016. I think fondly back to 2012. Those years that Matt Ryan was able to do things and you know, that's when he was Matty Ice, when he was doing those last minute drives to get Matt Bryan in field position and stuff like that. He's not that guy anymore. And not only is he not that guy, think about it. 14 years, you've changed a lot of personnel on that team. The guys who were on that team when he first started and when he was getting to his peak and all of that, those guys are gone. These young cats now, they're used to having in college. They're used to the Josh Allens, the Kyler Murrays, the Justin Herberts, the Patrick Mahomes type athletic quarterbacks that can you know, break away and extend plays and things like that. They're used to that. They're not used to, okay, let's protect the old man. And y'all got to remember now, let's make sure we give him 100% the best blocking ever. And that's what I don't like too, then tangent. When everybody keeps talking about how great our offensive line could be, dude, Kansas City's offensive line isn't great. Green Bay's offensive line isn't great. Baltimore's offensive line isn't great. They're very good, and sometimes even less than that, they're serviceable. but their quarterback is going to do whatever they can do to make their offensive line look good, and that means stepping up in the pocket. That means escaping the rush sometimes, not just standing there. And those are the things we talk about when we say changing, y'all. That's it. Sherman says, in my opinion, Green Bay is going to be a scary team in the playoffs. Sure, you mean Green Bay. Is it going to be a scary team in the playoffs this season? It's a different feeling. I'm one of those people, Sherman, that until he actually does it, I'm trying to tell you, Aaron Rodgers, I'm not saying he's Matt Ryan by any means, but Aaron Rodgers gets there all the time. Boy, oh boy, he's got to really close the door, man. I really think he needs to close the door. He's for all of the I don't want to be in Green Bay talk, he needs to back it up by getting past the NFC Championship and getting to the Super Bowl. Lamar says, what do you think about Josh Allen and putting on an AN1 mixtape at Fowler's expense? I'll tell you what, that stiff arm was nasty. But you know, look, who was the guy that Kyle Pitts put a stiff arm on old boy from Buffalo too. That was nastier than Josh Allen, but Josh Allen is a quarterback, so I could see how that would be more. Rusty says the taunting on Matt was the best penalty we took all year. That's what a team full of young dudes need to see from their quarterback. That energy and heart. Yeah, the 15 yards hurt, but Matt made me proud on that play. Listen, I don't doubt Matt's heart, Matt's effort. I just don't think his effort is enough to win consistently in today's NFL. I think the Matt from yesteryear is gone. I think you see flashes of it sometimes, but Matt isn't that guy. Matt doesn't even move as quick when he throws the ball anymore. He does it sometimes, but he doesn't. He's not that guy anymore. And that's not a bad thing. That's just evolution, man. I'm not the guy I was 20 years ago. Well, it depends on him. But can we talk about why we didn't go for the field goal instead of taking a delay of game to punt? I understand it was snowing, but it was worth the chance. I was thinking about that same thing. I really don't know. Maybe he was saying it was early. Maybe I don't know. I thought about that too. Why not go for it? The weather was going to be a problem all day. Let's see if we can try to make it. It wouldn't have meant. I mean, if you don't get it, it's not like you were putting them on our side of the field. So yeah, I agree with you. Maybe we should have tried that. Is that Arlen? What's going on? Arlen says Matt has never had a sense of the game. He doesn't know when to step up in the pocket, throw the ball away, know where the line of scrimmage is, and then get a taunting call when you're still down a touchdown to find out you didn't score. I say this, Arlen. And contrary to what Rusty said, and I agree with Rusty to a certain extent, I like the fight. But yeah, as a veteran, you've got to be better in that situation. You've got to know that as the team leader, you can't afford those penalties. They just told everybody they're going to get you on the taunting things. Never seen Matt taunt anybody all these years. Now, when you have a chance to pull off arguably one of the biggest upsets of the year, we were 14.5-point underdogs. And I know the people were happy they covered that. But we were 14.5-point underdogs. And that would have been a huge upset had we gone up there to Buffalo and done that. So, Benjamin, what's going on? Say Happy New Year. How good would this defense be under Pease with a legitimate defensive line pass rusher. I'm trying to tell you, it's something. It's not, and it's not like this franchise hasn't tried. We thought Beasley was going to be one. We thought Tat was going to be one. We went out and got Fowler and thought he was going to help. So at least it shows me that they know that's an issue, but we just keep getting the wrong people. Now, I will say I like the motor of the guy we got from Notre Dame this year. I think he could be developed. I've been a little surprised at Kaminsky. He seems like he's taken a step back, in my opinion, from what I've seen. So Terry Fontenot, this will be the first time that they're able to go out, and now you see what we've done this year. So let's go out and see if we can find some help and see what you think the problem is. Because I do think if we had a nice defensive presence, especially on the line, we'd be good. Arlen says 76 and 77. 2 trash cans. Mayfield is put, a lot of people dog out Mayfield, and deservedly so for his play on the field. They changed that man's position though this year. It's a difference playing tackle and guard. You would think, everybody thinks, yeah, you need to be interchangeable, but that was a big difference. And they didn't really make that move until the middle of the camp, if you remember, that they were switching him over. The thought was Mayfield was going to come in here and challenge for the right side because McGarry wasn't doing what he was supposed to do, and maybe he was going to come over there and solidify that spot. But then they moved him in the guard, and he struggled and still struggles. So, I'm not and I see Dave on here, same thing. I'm not giving up on Mayfield. I think it's silly. Yeah, I think this is 1 year for Mayfield. I think if anything, Mayfield absolutely was taken to the woodshed this year. Let's see what he does in offseason. Let's see what he does to improve. And I'm telling y'all, if he comes back and learns from this year, I think we're gonna reap the benefits. People don't remember in 2015, Dan Quinn's first year, that same offensive line that everybody was dogging out, Chester Levine, before Alex Mack got there, Chester Levine, Jake Matthews, and I'm forgetting the other guard, but dogged them out in 2015. Turned out to be probably the best, if not one of the best, offensive line in 2016. That's definitely a position group that have to gel together. You can be the best left tackle in the game, but you got to have some help from your guys in order to protect your quarterback. Best left tackle is great, but you got to have the guards protecting up the middle for those stunts. And boy, they know Atlanta's awful up front because they stunt this team more than anybody else in the NFL. I've never seen more teams go after our guards than the rest of these teams in the NFL. Lamar says we don't even have a number 2 receiver. I would argue we don't have a number 1 receiver, Lamar. Lynn, how you doing, Lynn? Say, hey, we stepped up from last year, so I feel like we headed in the right direction. Change is coming. Lynn, I agree with you. We've been talking about that tonight. I think you see some signs that are pointing up. Now, this year, you're going to have to, when I told people at the beginning that I'm going to stand by this, Lynn, so listen to me when I say this. You're going to have to step back in a couple of areas. And I know people, this is not the bash thing. Matt Ryan is going to be on this roster. But if you don't secure the future that he can kind of learn behind Matt this year, we're going to be behind for 2023 and beyond. So some areas I feel like we're going to step back in, but for the most part, as a group, as a franchise, I think we do have the potential to go up. And Happy New Year to you. Let's see. Clayton says 3 wide receivers, 2 guards, 2 pass rushers, 1 corner, and 2 linebackers. That's a big grocery list. That's a big grocery list, Clayton. I don't know if we got enough Kroger Plus cards for that. We'll see. Corey, what's going on? Says, do you think there's a quarterback coming out in the draft that's worth being taken in the first or second round? I know we talked a little bit earlier about Matt Corral, about Kenny Pickett, but keeping it real, there hasn't been anyone that I have seen coming out of college now. I think most of the guys who are doing all the stuff are the freshmen and the sophomores right now. Thinking about our buddy over in Tuscaloosa that we have to play this Monday, Bryce Young, and the guy from Ohio State, Stroud. Those are the guys that are coming along in about a year or two. That's why I say, from a quarterback position, this is the year you probably have the luxury of taking somebody, maybe Malik Willis in the second round or third round, if they fall that far, and the risk isn't that high as it would be for a first round pick. That's why with Matt Ryan still being in place, it might not be a horrible thing. I know eventually it's time to go, but for right now, to bring somebody in under him, and yes, even if the games get out of hand, or if Lord forbid Matt gets hurt, you'll have somebody that can come in there and step right in. You do have to start moving on. You got to. Eldridge says, we still don't know what our offensive identity is because we don't have the personnel. We've been winging it all year. Very astute statement. We don't have the personnel. Only personnel we have right now on our offense that I feel will absolutely, positively, without a doubt be here in 2023 is number 8. That's it. Everybody else is pretty much put out on the roulette wheel and see if they're going to be here. Because is there anybody else on the offensive side of the and we haven't even talked about Calvin and all that stuff yet, and we shouldn't, because I think it's probably a foregone conclusion that it sounds like one way or the other he might not be in the mix. He may not. Again, as I talked about a few days ago, I'm not one of these people that's going to try to gossip about things I don't know about. I don't know about the young man's situation. I can only go by his word. He says something. He's having some mental health issues, so that's what I'm going to believe. But that being said, if football isn't in his heart right now, then we got to move on and see what we're going to do next. But yeah, we have a lot of things to do on the offensive side. Absolutely. Clayton says Gage deserves another year, but in the slot with the number 2 at times. Yeah, you're going to have to pay him. That's one thing. You'll have to pay him if you do. Not have to pay him a lot, but you're going to have to pay him. We'll see. T-Mac says bring back John Abraham. Yeah, that would be cool. You can go back in the DeLorean and from Back to the Future and go get him. Absolutely. CP was refreshing, but he ain't the answer. We need a true running back. Yeah, I think what you have CP as is the same thing you see New Orleans doing with what's my boy name? Traquan in New Orleans, when they see San Francisco doing with Deebo Samuel. I would like to see Cordell stay here for that. But as far as a true bona fide running back, I do think we need to invest in that particular player. We don't have that. We do need to to get a real linebacker. It said we have to do something on the other side of AJ. Period. We talked about that, Sherman. Absolutely. You got to get another, whether that be from a veteran or a rookie standpoint. I would love to get a veteran on the other side of AJ, just so you don't have to go through the maturation of learning. I would love somebody that's battle tested. Maybe not a third tier cornerback. If we could get somebody who has some starting experience at the cornerback position to get on the other side of him, I think it would be great. The guy we had last year, perfect example, and it's losing my mind. The other cornerback we had during the time last year, somebody like that can be that can help him out. Have you seen the steal shot of Matt across the goal line when his knee was down? It was so blatant. It was a bad call. They robbed us. It was a horrible call. Horrible call. Never should have called it. I disagree with that. Absolutely. I don't know what the referees were thinking. That was ridiculous. That was a dumb call. Mike Thomas, what's going on, Mike? Mike says 2 first-round picks really hurt this team. Vic intact. Not on this team really hurt. Need a bull at linebacker. Dion can go. I don't disagree with any of that. I do think when you start thinking about the life of Vic Beasley for today's team, that doesn't hurt because technically he was gone 2 years ago off his contract. So the tack thing, that could still hurt because this would have been his 5th year if he was here. But yeah, you wasted time. Again, Mike, got to remember that was the last regime. Let's give Terry Fontenot a chance to see now that he has a season under his belt since the Saints game. Let's see what he does going forward, and hopefully he'll make those moves. So I don't think it was about scoring the TD. I think it was the hit Poyer delivered. Yeah, I get it, but at the same time, you're still behind. You're still the team. And these are the things that people don't realize, the perception. Referees are probably human. They know who the favorite in this game is. They know who the underdog is. They're probably more inclined to throw that flag on the team trying to come back more than they are the team that's in the league and has control. I'm not saying I don't knock Matt for showing emotion. I don't knock Matt for doing that. Happens all the time, doesn't get flagged. That particular time, he was right in front of the referee. So I just think it was kind of unfortunate. Dave says CP beginning to show the wear and tear of a 30-year-old, sometimes running back, and he still has some flashes, but that's why I'm trying to tell people, don't go crazy about, if he comes back and says he'll give us 2 years, $10 million, I'll jump on that in a heartbeat. But just don't get totally fooled. Dwayne says AJ got 1 sack. AJ got 1? Did he? I apologize. Okay, let me look right here. I got the stats right here for us. And you might be right, my friend. And I might have missed that. Defense. AJ got a sack. And I apologize. Good job. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And let me pull this down. There we go. So, yeah, AJ did get a sack. Thank you, man. Appreciate it, Dwayne. Benjamin says, as much as I love CP and appreciate his amazing year, his age is a blocker for a multi-year solution. With that being said, I hope he's back next year. Yeah, minimum 2 years. He's 30 years old. Minimum 2 years, if that. Nicole says that made Matt react when she was talking about the hit, and it did, Nicole. Listen, I'm not saying, and I think maybe y'all missing me. I'm not saying I'm not expecting that type of reaction out of Matt. I'm just saying I just would have hoped he could have held that in. Because let's think about the ramifications of that horrible call. Because it was a horrible call that Matt didn't score the touchdown. None of us knew that was going to happen. We were all thinking it was going to be like a 40-yard extra point at the moment. When it came back from the commercial and they were talking about, oh, they took back the touchdown, now all of a sudden that becomes a huge play. Because instead of having the score 29-20 and you're kicking the extra point, now you're 29-15 again, and it's third down and goal from the 16. I get it. I'm not saying I don't understand the emotion. I just think I wish he would have just held back just a little bit. That's all. I love the emotion from my players. I love it. Rather that than have no emotion. I get it. I get it. Sherman said it's like the dog want to come out of Matt now. Don't get me wrong. I like it, but it's too long, too late now, Manny. Absolutely. If y'all remember, I don't know if y'all paid attention a lot in 2016. Matt was a beast. Matt had a lot of fire in 2016. People remember that. Now that's 6 years ago. But Matt has some fire. And I've seen him have moments. I've just never seen him have a taunting moment. But it is what it is. I'm not dogging him though. I'm not here to dog him. I'm not. Ricky says our first step is defense in the draft, and says Debo is out in his opinion. How do you feel about Matt going to the Steelers? I've been hearing that rumor about that a lot. Again, people remember, even if Matt goes to the Steelers, we only lose the salary. We still don't lose the bonus money we have to account for. I'm not sure if Pittsburgh is going to make that move. I mean, you would trade for a quarterback that's 1 year younger than Roethlisberger, 1 or 2 years younger than Roethlisberger, and you could argue. I think Matt this year may have been a little bit better than Ben, but if you're going to make a trade for somebody, make a trade for somebody like they were talking about with Russell or Derek Carr or somebody like that. I'm not sure if I would do that if I were Pittsburgh. Now, if I was the Falcons, I'll help him pack his bags. Dave says, miss me with Coach Pease. I'm tired of him. Oh, man. Rick said, love the story, Uncle. I'm way behind. I know y'all, I was talking about the football story. I know y'all probably way back in between that. Amadi, what's going on, sir? Good seeing you yesterday on Red and Rev's show on Facebook. Always like seeing you. Say, I got a question. Why do fans blame other fans for the state of the team? We all love the Falcons. I think we are just, when things happen in life that we don't like or we can't explain, we try to blame other people. That's our nature. That is not only the nature in sports, that's the nature in life. I could not get that job. Why couldn't I get that? Because that particular person over there who's underqualified can't get it. I couldn't get, I didn't get elected president of the social club. Why? Because that person over there had it out for me and they talked about this right here and then turning it back to sports. Why the Falcons didn't win? You know why the Falcons didn't win? Because all these fake fans and unloyal fans and all of that don't root for them and whatever. We are all frustrated. When you're frustrated, it manifests into anger, hate, and things of that nature. We don't know how to control that yet. So you're going to get a lot of folks in this group, in several groups, that just want to talk and just be negative. I try not to go that route because I just don't live like that and stuff. Do I get mad? Oh, absolutely. Am I ticked off that we lost the game? Without a doubt. But I try not to just let it swirl in me. And more importantly, I try not to lash out at others because I think sometimes that's kind of foolish and you kind of look, you kind of look juvenile when you do it. Now, if I'm sitting here with my son, my teenage son, and he's sitting here with 10 other friends of them, and they sitting over there talking about, and they get mad at each other because somebody did that, I'm expecting that. They're young. They don't know. When I see 40, 50, 60-year-old adults sitting here, keyboard warriors who have nothing else to do but to talk about each other, you stink and you suck. F you, F bomb this and B. I just don't. My energy doesn't move like that. But I hope I answered that. I probably didn't, but I hope I did. Um, Toya says a team like the Browns may make a run for Matt. They are a quarterback away from making some noise. Now that would be interesting if Cleveland, because I'm telling you, Baker Mayfield. I think his welcome mat is being pulled from him, Toya. I don't think he's going to be welcome pretty much. And after this game against Pittsburgh, and I think they're officially eliminated, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're officially eliminated now. So that's going to be because Cleveland invested a lot. They have a defense that's pretty stout. They spent a lot of money on Austin Hooper. We missed out on that one, right? They have Nick Chubb in the back. They have Kareem Hunt in the back. Landry is still out there. There's a lot of folks there. That's very interesting. I haven't heard that yet, Tori. That's a very good idea. That's a very good idea. Clayton says wide receiver, two of them, corner, running back, offensive line, 5 running backs for P's system, and a backup quarterback. Said Matt needs some competition bringing that dog out. But see, here's the problem. I was with you until the last one. I don't need the dog brought out in Matt now. I needed the dog brought out in Matt 5 years ago. I still need Matt as my veteran quarterback, but it's time to move to another entity to take us to the next phase, as the Isley brother said. I'm not telling you to get rid of Matt next year. It's probably a foregone conclusion, barring something amazing. He's going to be here, but we a quarterback that we can groom. When you say backup quarterback, yes, maybe a backup for 2022, but we're grooming for the future for this team. Gotta look for that, man. Gotta look for that. T-Mac says, think Justin Fields, young quarterback, will get killed with that line. Yeah, it's amazing that some people think just because you're young and athletic that you can outrun anything. And as he's found out in Chicago, he's getting lit up pretty good because of that offensive line. I think, though, the one thing when you start about teams like my man in Jacksonville, Lawrence, and when you think about Zach Wilson from the Jets, even Trey Lance today, those guys, they know because they were drafted so high that this is heavy on them. And I think a lot of them are trying to press. Matt Jones probably came into the best situation in the NFL, going to a successful franchise, a franchise that really gives the blueprint on how to build from inside out with your trenches and then out. So he's set up in a perfect situation up there with Bill Belichick. 2 or 3 years from now, Matt Jones is going to be winning the Super Bowl. Watch. Not going to take long. Not going to take long at all. Brandon says, problem with these mobile quarterbacks is they don't look pro-ready to read defenses because they've been playing one-read offense. It takes time. You're absolutely right. It's a difference playing against Iowa State and then coming into the NFL and playing Baltimore Ravens. It's going to be different. You got to learn how to go through your progressions quick. I saw Trey Lance today, and one of the things I didn't like is that he came too attached to the play, I guess, and probably the primary. that he could. And every time he hiked the ball, it's almost like he stared him down. And there was a couple of times I was like, "Ooh, he could have got intercepted real good." But that's going to come later on. People are going to watch his film. They're going to pick up that Microsoft Surface and look on there and say, "Bruh, you need to stop staring down your receiver. You need to look off. You need to go through your progressions quicker." He's not quick yet. Justin's not quick yet. Trevor Lawrence is not quick yet. Trust me, those guys will pick it up soon. Matt Jones is not super quick like the rest of, compared to those guys. I think he's set up because Bill Belichick wants to run the ball 70% of the time. So he's set up in a better offense to bring along a young quarterback because he's not trying to make Matt Jones throw 50 times a game. In the first round and 2 second rounders, we need defense, running back, and O-line. Lamar says defense this year, quarterback next year, Bryce Young or Will Rogers. Yeah, Bryce Young, he's going to be nice. Brandon says pass rush, you need to pay free agent, established guys, no more projects, but they just tried that, Brandon, with Dante Fowler. And that wasn't this regime. That was the regime before. But it's not like they haven't tried. You just got to get the right one. You got to realize it's somebody that's not benefiting from having basically the best defensive lineman in the game in Aaron Donald. And that's we're finding that out too. Brandon says Will Anderson from Bama is a player too. Yeah, the problem with Will Anderson is he's not going to be around for any of us by the time we get there. Rusty says Josh Allen got a cannon. Y'all catch that pass where he planted his feet and bobbed that sucker to Diggs in the end zone. That ball had to go 70 yards. But Josh Allen has always had that cannon. Josh Allen is going to be one of the top 5 guys for the next decade. He's really good. Brian says, as much as the fan base rags our defense, consider this. The Seattle defense are ranked 7th on defense in points allowed at 20.1 a game. Our defense, with all the filler league minimum players, average 24.6. Our defense is not great, but for what we have invested in, they are not that far off. Our problem is our offense, which average per game is 17.7 points a game. These seasons, like others, falls on Matt and this offense. The elite teams put up at least 28 points. That is the great divide. You sound like a disciple of the book of John Harris, which is correct. You said it how many times this year? I go back to the New England game, Brian. I go back to that game. The defense kept us in that game up until 10 minutes in the fourth quarter. We were literally only 2 possessions away in that game. The defense, time and time again, stop. Offense couldn't help you out. Same thing for the Carolina game that we played here in Mercedes-Benz. When I was up there, that Carolina didn't score that last touchdown until the fourth quarter. Up then, they scored 4 field goals. The defense, back and forth. And at some point, your defense gets tired. And you need to give them a rest. And so you're absolutely right. You got to balance that out. Or be like we were in 2016 and have your offense be out of this world where you're saying, hey, I'm going to cover up the deficiencies of some of the defense and score 40 points a game, which is what we did that year. Very good point. Very good point. Lamar says, I would like to see what Mayfield can do at right tackle because McGarry is absolutely, yeah, he is. I thought that's what they were bringing him here for, Lamar. I really did. I ain't heard anybody say we need a running back. I did earlier. We definitely need one of those. That's what I was talking about when, and a couple of people put up a list where they were saying that they had running backs. Absolutely. We do need a running back in here. Ricky says Matt Corral got hurt yesterday. Yeah, I talked about that right before you got on, Rick. Yeah, just a bad timing situation. I know for those big time stars, it's probably another reason why they'll want to sit out instead of trying to play and stuff. But just a bad situation for him. John says, "How we need a running back? How can you say any running back we have now can be judged behind this shower curtain we call an offensive line?" Yeah, I hear what you're saying about that too, John. But I still think we need another running back in here. Rusty says Lindstrom, Sherman. Stovall says the first thing we need to do is shore up the offensive and defensive lines and trade Debo for some picks. And all that sounds great. Definitely got to get a dance partner though, and you have to have the right dance partner too. Let's not try to get draft picks from Kansas City knowing that they're not going to be around there. That's basically like getting a second round pick. I mean, get some picks from some of these teams that give you some higher value. If I get a second round pick from Houston, then I know I'm going to get one of the top 5 or 6 picks in the second round. So get some value picks if you're going to do that, but you got to find a dance partner to go with you. Brother Tidy, what's going on, man? Tidy says Cleveland does sound like the perfect destination for Ryan. He would be their first franchise quarterback since Bernie Kosar. Sounds like a perfect fit to me. That's crazy too when you think about that, Tidy. Their quarterback history is so maligned. Remember the great Tim Couch out of Kentucky? Didn't my man from Carolina have a cup of tea there too? Delhomme, didn't Jake Delhomme have some time there as well? Cleveland has never gotten it right, and people got so happy for Baker Mayfield when he had that 7-9 season or 7-8-1. They got so happy for that and thought that he was going to be so next level that they start making progressive insurance commercials and all of this stuff. And what was he on Hulu? And they thought he was going to be the next best Brady. And they see that has not come to fruition at all. But you're right. That would be an interesting team if you start talking about destinations for Matt. Twan, what's going on, man? Said, with how Matt played today, do you think we can look at our options? Do you think we look at our options for a quarterback? Do you think we can somehow get Ryan on a Breeze type deal of a 2-year, $50 million deal just to ease some of the cap hit, and then maybe we can go get some more cap? The only way I think the only way you would get any type of relief realistically from what you have from Matt, if Matt retired and they ended up redoing some of the terms of his contract. They did that with Breeze last year at the end, because really last year at the end, New Orleans would have owed, I think, $30 million, if I'm not mistaken. And at the very end, after they ended up doing everything, I think his bonus only amounted to right at about $9 million. I could be wrong on those exact numbers. Tidy, I know, is on, and you can probably back me up. But I remember they had to redo his contract, even though he retired. They had to redo some of the framework of his contract so they could ease some of that bonus money that New Orleans still has to account for. Because, see, listen, the salary goes where the player goes. So that bonus money that they kept signing, and I think you lied. I don't know why my camera just went out, but I'm still here, y'all. So yeah, that would be my guess. Other than that, brother, we stuck. We stuck with him. And Twan says, hell yes, we need some young legs back there, if not two. It's not guaranteed Davis, Ollison, or CP will be back next year. I think Ollison, we still got one more year with him under contract, if I'm not mistaken. I'd say, see what you can get out of Ollison for this next year. Now, the CP, again, that's a whole nother story because you're still going to have to pay him next year. You got to pay CP. So we got to figure out how we're going to do that. You don't overpay for him because as good as he's been this year, in the role he's been, I think that particular role he plays, you can't overpay him. You can't go out here and pay him $10 million a year. Even though he scored 10 touchdowns and all of that, he's still going to be over 30 next year, and he still plays a split position, where he's going to have some wear and tear. And it's been shown that running backs, after a certain amount of time, after years, they will, have some wear and tear. You can't overpay that. You can't. Mike, what's going on, my friend? Mike says Matt will throw for over 400 yards, yes, against the Saints, since there is no pressure for the playoffs. And I'm telling you what, it's going to be interesting because I think this is going to be an interesting game coming up with the Saints still having a slim chance to get in and the Falcons out of it. This is basically our playoff game for the year to keep the hated rivals out of the game. And judging by what I saw against that Saints team, y'all, I'm telling you, it's not going to take but 20 points to beat them. Their offense is straight garbage. The Taysom Hill project, I just don't get it. I don't. You key on Alvin Kamara, you win the game. That's what you do. That team, there was no way that team should have been that close today. Tidy says Ollison is a free agent after oh, my bad. Okay, I thought it. All right, maybe I'm missing that. So he must have been drafted. Okay, I guess that would be 18, 19, 20, 21. You're absolutely right. That is 4 years. My apologies. Tidy also says, I love and respect what Patterson has done, but I wouldn't make a priority to re-sign him. Let another team give him a big, nice bag. And I'm telling you, that's the way you have to look at that. I thank him for giving us flashes, but at the end of the day, those flashes only got us to, at this point, 7 wins. If you got somebody that made, I'm trying to think, it was somebody very recent in Falcon history that came in and had a good season, and we rewarded them for a year. I'm trying to think who was that, and I'm gonna think about it later on. But yeah, you can't be under pressure to sign CP going into the year. Anthony says, do we re-sign Foyer this offseason? In my opinion, folks, Anthony, I think Foyer is your number one person that you re-sign going into the offseason. And asterisk by Koo, because Koo has pretty much been money for you. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he still only missed 2 kicks this year. I think that's your main target when you talk about free agency. Who else on this team, free agent wise, would you put on the list to re-sign? I think you look at Russell Gage, now that his worth might be a little bit more to the team to have at least a veteran here, possibly. But I'm not sure if you even spend that much money for Gage. And even if you brought Gage back, it's not like you bring him back for $6 million or $5 million. You say, hey, I'm gonna give you this little, I don't know, $2-3 million, something like that. And whatever happens with Foyer, you have to tag Foyer. You have to put a tender on Foyer. You can't just let him walk away. You have to put at least, in my opinion, I think you put at least a second round tender on Foyer, which would mean anybody that would sign him, we would get a draft pick compensation back. I don't think you can't just let him walk away. Like that. Twan says, I want us to beat New Orleans just to rub it in and say we knocked them out, but with Pitts out, our chances are getting slim. Now I know when I saw that hamstring thing, I was kind of like you, Twan. I already start thinking about this coming week because most of the time when you see folks with those hamstrings, it takes a couple of weeks to get that right. So yeah, to your point, if he's out of the game, it's gonna be tough sledding offensively. But the great thing is we're playing the New Orleans team that I'm telling y'all that offense. Don't let that score fool you. Their offense is non-existent, and we should win that game. Michael said, "Would you draft a quarterback first? Have to trade up, and who would you like?" I like Pickett. Talk about Pickett from Pitt. I wouldn't take a quarterback this year in the first round at all, Michael. If I would hope one of those second tier guys, and I'm not saying Corral is a second tier guy. I think he's somebody that'll be drafted in the first round. But I would try to get a second tier guy that would come out. And I know the guy, Malik from Louisville. Oh man, the other guy they just had him on the tip of my tongue. The guy from not Ohio State, from Penn State. He's a quarterback from Penn State. He's going to be ready to come out this year. I would look for a value pick for that in the second round. I got to double check. We have 2 second-round picks, right? Y'all double check me on that. I think so. Isaiah says you can only tender restricted free agents. Fourier is unrestricted. Is he unrestricted? I apologize, Isaiah. If he's unrestricted, then you're right. You sure can. You sure can. I gotta go back to my spot track, y'all. Y'all making me work today, man. Y'all making me work on this. But you're absolutely, if you're right, if he's unrestricted, yeah, you can't do anything with that. Oh man, that sucks. Because to let him just walk away, that would really suck. Isaiah said the market says Fourier is worth $6 to $8 million a year. That's what you're gonna probably have to pay. That's about the average that you did for Dion. That's what you're gonna have to pay. Tidy says we got to cut Sheffield, Steve. It's gonna save us $2.5 million on the cap, and the dead cap will only be $190,000. Gives us more room to absorb Matt Ryan's cap hit next year. I have no problem with cutting Sheffield at all. What would y'all say about, and we talked about it earlier, what would y'all say about if Isaiah would take a 1-year, $2.5 million contract coming off an injury? I would take a flyer on that for 1 year, though. Only 1 year. I would take a flyer on that if I could. Twan says, "Oh no, I think we could trade back in the first round and get an extra second, and then I take my quarterback. I want Malik Willis. Malik Willis. That's what I was referring to." And Twan does verify we do have 2 first rounders. I thought I'm pretty sure that their second rounder was what we got for Julio this past year. David says Sean Clifford is the Penn State quarterback. I only see round 4, maybe 5 again. But I'm not trying to, because of how we're set up, David, or anybody, we're not trying to change the franchise this year. This is why forward people, like myself, was thinking this year, even with Matt on the field, you could still get your quarterback this past year in 2021. I know it's gone, but you could have got your quarterback. And so when the transition was going to come for Matt, it wouldn't be such a, we got to wait for him to learn the system, take snaps at practice, do all of this. So now with every year that we keep Matt, you're stunning the next guy who's coming up behind him. That's why all these years when we haven't got quarterbacks, when the great Ken Bittkirk and all those people were here that y'all were promising was going to be the future. When all those guys kind of went by the wayside, every year we just are not building any depth and not having anybody to fill in for Matt. Now, again, knock on wood, Matt has been very healthy, but our luck is going to run out soon. And who are you thinking right now? Are you telling me right now, Felipe Franks, if Matt twists the ankle in this next game, Felipe will be the one that you think to come in there? I know he's inactive today, but because of COVID. But before the last few games, he's been the backup quarterback. Are you seriously telling me that's your game plan? I know you're not building your future on Josh Rosen. So that's why I was so adamant about trying to start that up this season. Well, I say 2021 draft. Now the 2022 comes. Yeah, Sean Clifford, absolutely, he's a 4th or 5th rounder. I'm not asking us to spend high on that. We have too many other needs, as everyone has pointed out. Defensive end, wide receiver now, offensive or defensive line, interior line. We do have other needs, but that wouldn't hurt my feelings to get a quarterback in the 3rd round, 4th round. Because I'm not looking for that person to be a savior. I'm looking for somebody that I can truly build up. Michael says, what would you do with Ridley? It's such a hard thing right now, Mike, because we don't know. We don't know. We'll find out pretty soon going into the offseason what all of that was. But I hate doing the speculation thing without information out here like this. But until we find out exactly what's going on, I don't know what we would do with Ridley. I don't. Isaiah says they can sign Oliver to $1.5 million off that injury. Perfect. Do it. Sign me up for that. And I think he would come. I don't think anybody else is going to sign Isaiah. Jermaine says, I like Matt Corral. He's going to be in the 1st round. He's going to be 1st round or a high 2nd round. One of those two. He's going to be. We're not going to be able to get him. I like him too, though. I think he's a nice little quarterback. And that's what I'm talking about when I was saying. I know earlier in the thread people were talking about mobile quarterback, and I don't want a mobile quarterback. I want an athletic quarterback. And maybe our definitions are the same, but I want that quarterback like Matt Corral, somebody who can go get me a 1st down, somebody who can step up with confidence and clarity and still keep their eyes down the field and make a 10-yard in or throw a 10-yard out from out of the pocket. I can roll out to the right and naturally throw, not awkwardly, not stumbling to the end zone type quarterback. I need somebody who actually can stay upright and make some moves and make those defensive ends work, make those linebackers work. Man, that defense gets tired chasing Patrick Mahomes around. And I saw Dallas today. I literally saw Dallas's defense, guys on the sideline, huffing and puffing because they gotta run down Kyler Murray all day. Kyler Murray's a quick little gnat. His accuracy is not as great as advertised, though. I've kind of noticed that about him. Maybe that could be the D-Hop effect, not being there, but his accuracy, I don't know. Not as great as I thought it was. He's good. I take him in a heartbeat. I take him in a heartbeat because he's real young, and I know Kingsbury is gonna have some time with him. Twan says, so for the Fourier, I think a 4-year $32 million, a 4-year $30 million, but we may have to trade Dion because We can't have both linebackers making $8 million, $9 million a year. But which one would you choose right now? Which one would you choose? Michael said, I would like Patterson to come back, but he's our MVP. If he came back for a serious hometown discount, matter of fact, I would not only ask for that, but I have a coupon with me to say take it off 30% for the day, and we can get him for under $4 million or something like that. I would take it in a heartbeat. But I think Cordell, he upped his value this year because other teams see what he can do too. Ooh, think about somebody like New Orleans. If they got one though, and my man, I just said his name earlier, Traquan. So he's the same thing. But yeah, I think he's upped his value. Sean says our best bet would be to set ourselves up to get Wilson, Watson, or Rodgers since they all went out. No real standout college quarterbacks. It's not, Sean. The only problem, either one of those guys I would probably be more realistic about getting Derek Carr here than getting Russell Wilson, even though you would think his spouse's ties would be helpful here. Deshaun Watson, who I would love to take a flyer on, but two things stand out: off the field stuff, and his contract is actually pretty loaded when you look at it. I know we will be picking up the salary from that, which is still kind of high as well, but yeah, that's a loaded contract you got right there with Watson. Rodgers could be interesting, but I don't know if Rodgers would want to come to Atlanta. I'm not sure. Right? If I see Rodgers, you know what? Y'all laugh at me if you want to. I see Rodgers going somewhere in California. If Derek Carr wanted to leave the Raiders, I would see Aaron Rodgers running to the Raiders to go play. He knows he can't go to the Chargers because they already have a quarterback. He can't go to Frisco, or could he? If they thought about getting rid of Garoppolo, maybe. But that, I think he's kind of like a warm city guy. Miami possibly, but would Green Bay take Tua in return? I don't know, but I don't see him doing that. Tony says, what do we do with Caleb McGarry next year? I think they don't have a ball boy for 2022, so Caleb could probably fit in that position. He'd be a little larger than the normal ball boy. Nah, that's a waste of first round pick. And I just remembered I was the training camp. We went up there and they when they got him and Lindstrom. Lindstrom has been pretty good. But McGarry, that was a waste. And we moved up to get him too. We moved up. So I definitely don't see them signing him to a tender for his fifth year. Definitely don't. I just don't, man. I don't. Sean says, man, watching us lose the way we did when we couldn't put the game away really hurt me. Watching it live made it worse. Yeah, watching this team sometimes does that to you. You see so many things, but listen, I seriously think there are positives. Some of the things that Coach Smith is doing right now, I think if we had the right personnel, I could see a lot of that stuff working. I just think right now we're just very devoid of talent, man. We're just devoid of talent, and until we get some talent in here, it's going to be pretty much the same. Brother Tidy says, per Spot Track, Cordell Patterson's current value is $18.2 million over 2 years, which averages out to $9.1 million per season. So if you haven't saw him in a person in a Falcons jersey yet, you better be at the BS next Sunday. Yes, because I'm going to tell you what. I'm not paying over $5 million for Cordero. So to your point, if that's what they're saying and that's what it's like, I'm not doing that. Some young team will come around and pick him up and pay him that money. Can't do it. Twan says if we can't get Watson, then we do better drafting our guy, and which is kind of what I'm saying. And again, maybe like other people are alluding to too, maybe our guy isn't here until 2023. And I think we stuck. That's why with the number 4 pick this year or this season, that's why when you have 5 top rated quarterbacks in the first 14 picks, that's why when you start talking about best player available, you try to go in that position so you can set up yourself. That's why we're as Falcon fans right now, we really don't know. We don't know our future. We go into a palm reader and look into and she started reading the palms and looking at our things. She don't know what to read because you don't know what your future is going to be. You don't know how we're going to be set up. And that's what frustrates me. We could have done that. We could have had all that together. I think that's what Corey says. I think we lose CP unless he takes less money, and I'm quite sure he'll want to chase the biggest contract since he's an agent player that will probably not get a better payday. And who wouldn't? I would too. Twan says, please get McGarry out of here. Move Mayfield to right tackle and draft a left guard. Christopher says, we already have our quarterback for the future on the team. Trask will be yeah, right. Yeah, right. Michael says, how far do you live from Valdosta? Know someone who lives there, not Falcon. Oh, brother, I'm in the city limits. I'm not in the city limits. I'm south of the city. No, Valdosta is right there on the Florida border, my friend. Lisa, what's going on? Lisa says Sierra doesn't care about the Falcons. She was a Patriots Brady fan before she got with Russell. Oh, that's interesting to know. Okay, well then forget her then. Michael says Falcons got robbed today. We did, my friend. We talked about that. We absolutely did. Michael says also keep Jones. Listen, this offseason, as I talked about a little bit earlier, and I'm getting ready to close here at 9:30. As we talked about a little bit earlier, folks, it's going to be a lot of ties broken this year. Guys who were probably famously here from 2016, folks that we thought would be in our future next year. I think we need to start being realistic about how much money we have on this payroll and who's actually going to be here for the future. I see us having one more year of picking up some one and dones in 2022. And then by the time 2023, we get some cap flexibility. And then that's when we're going to really be able to do some things going forward, in my opinion. I still like some of the things Arthur is doing, but right now, folks, it's almost like in college, if we're the University of Georgia and we're picking up some, no respect to these colleges, but we're picking up somebody from Shorter College or West Georgia or some Kennesaw State and asking them to come fill in positions. We can't do that and expect to be a successful program. Some of the young folks we have, a lot of the draft picks we have this year, I've seen some things. People we had last year, the Jalen Hawkins would like to see a little bit more from him. Michael Walker, seen some things there. Richie Grant, give those guys time to build. Until we do that, until we let those guys mature and get better under this system, we're probably looking at this 9-8, 8-9 type of year where we have some games we should have won and games we shouldn't have. I mean, this year has been so weird because we got blown out in games to where I'm thinking we don't need to be in the NFL, being a franchise and then there are other games that I say, well, we have the potential. I think we're closer to the middle of that. I think we're a 50-50 team right now. That team that we had today against Buffalo, I think the heart and effort was in on that team, but I just don't think we're ready to seriously challenge any of those teams right now. When you start talking about the teams in the NFC that would have been Tampa, Rams, Arizona, um, Green Bay. We're not in that level right now. So even if we made the playoffs, it would have been nice to say you made the playoffs, but I don't think our chances would have been great of carrying on. Listen, y'all, I've been on here for a long time. I didn't realize how long I've been on, but I always love talking to everyone after a game. Sad that we weren't able to do it today, but hopefully we can get our revenge. Not revenge, but hopefully we can sweep the Saints on Sunday at the Benz, put a nice little ribbon on the end of the 2021 regular season, and have some hope going into the season next year. Until then, y'all take care. Have a great night. Sorry it didn't work out like we wanted to, but we'll catch up with y'all later on. Y'all have a good one. Peace.